Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Pando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवारि पाश्चात्यरिषतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल. Okay, so today we read about Augustine, this man. Hari Bol. He looks really sad. Hayagriv Das. Augustine considered the soul to be spiritual and incorporeal, but he also believed that the soul of the individual does not exist prior to birth. The soul attains its immortality only at death, and then goes on to live through eternity. Hmm. Hmm. So this person was the person who said that soul is not eternal, it's born. Yesterday my sister was talking about this. What was he saying? Okay, anyways. Srila Prabhupada, if the soul is created, how is it immortal? How can the soul sometimes not be eternal? Hagrid does. Augustine would say that the soul is immortal after it is created, but that at a certain point it is brought into being. Hare Krishna Vivek Prabhu Tandat Pranam. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Pranam. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Then what does he consider death to be? Hagrid does. Augustine recognizes two types of death. Physical death, wherein the soul leaves the body, and soul death, which is the death experienced by the soul when God abandons it. When one is damned, he faces not only physical death, but spiritual soul death as well. Prabhupada. Figuratively speaking, when one forgets his position, he undergoes a kind of death, but the soul is eternal. What Augustine calls spiritual death is forgetfulness. When one is unconscious, he forgets his identity, but when one is dead, he cannot revive his consciousness. Of course, until one acquires his freedom from material existence, he is spiritually dead, even though existing in the material form. Forgetfulness of our real identity is a kind of death. When we are alive to God consciousness, we are actually alive. In any case, the soul is eternal and survives the annihilation of the body. Augustine would consider that in some cases, forgetful stage Augustine would consider that in some cases the forgetful stage is eternal. Prabhupada. It is not, or consciousness can always be revived, and that is the conviction of this Krishna consciousness movement. We say that a man is unconscious when he is sleeping, but if you call him again and again, the sound of his name enters his ear and he awakes. Similarly, this process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra awakens us to spiritual consciousness. Then we can live in spiritual life. I agree with that. Augustine would say that God eternally abandons the damned soul to eternal perdition. Prabhupada. He may be eternally abandoned in the sense that he may remain forgetful for millions of years. It may seem eternal, but our spiritual consciousness can be revived at any moment by good association, by the method of hearing and chanting. Devotional service, therefore, begins with Shravanam, hearing. In the beginning, especially, hearing is very important. If we hear the truth from a self-realized soul, we can awake to spiritual life and remain spiritually alive in devotional service. I agree with that. In the city of God, Augustine refers to two cities or societies, one demonic and the other divine. In one city, love of God and the Spirit is the unifying factor, and in the other, love of the world and flesh is dominant. Augustine writes, these are two loves, the one of which is holy, the other unholy, one social, the other individualistic. The one is subject to God, the other sets itself up as rival to God. Prabhupada. A similar allegory is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. The body is likened to a city, and the soul is likened to the king of that city. The body has 9 gates, and the king can leave the city through these 9 gates. These detailed descriptions are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Active thus. Augustine seems to admit the transcendence of God, but not his omnipresence as the Paramatma accompanying each individual soul. He writes, God is not the soul of all things, but a maker of all souls. Prabhupada. Then God is all-pervading. Then how is God all-pervading? The Paramatma is accepted as the super soul, both in Brahma Samhita and in Bhagavad Gita. Upadrashtanu, upadrashtanumanan, upadrashtanumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshvara Paramatmeti Chapi Yukto Dehesmin Purushah Para. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Bhagavad Gita 13:23. God is present in every atom. Vishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekam shena stito jagat. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Vadanti tat 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 tattvavidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdayate. Bhagavatam 120, 1-11. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Certainly, God has the potency of omnipresence. This cannot be denied. I agree with that. Augustine disagrees with Origen's contention that the body is like a prison. He writes, if the opinion of Origen and his followers were true, then that matter was created. If the opinion of Origen and his followers were true, that matter was created that soul might be enclosed in bodies, as in penitentiaries, for the punishment of sin, then the higher and lighter bodies should have been for those whose sins were slight, and the lower and heavier ones for those whose crimes were great. Prabhupada. The soul is essentially part and parcel of God, but is imprisoned in different types of bodies. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva yoni sukonteya murtyaha sambhavantiya tasham brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Bhagavad Gita 14:4. From material nature, the mother different species are coming. They are found in earth, water, air, and even fire. The individual souls, however, are part and parcel of the Supreme, who impregnates them within this material world. The living entity then comes out into the material world through the womb of some mother. It appears that the soul is coming out of matter, but it is not composed of matter. The souls always the souls, always part and parcel of God, assume different types of bodies according to pious or impious activities or desires. The desires of the soul determine higher or lower bodies. In any case, the soul is the same. It is therefore said that those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness see the same soul in each and every body, be it the body of a dog or a brahmana. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva svapake cha pandita samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5.18. Hagrid does. Augustine looked on Adam as the root of mankind. He writes, God knew how good it would be for this community of them to recall that the human race had its roots in one man, precisely to show how pleasing it is to God that man, though many, should be one. What this means? God knew how good it would be for this community often to recall that the human race had its roots in one man, precisely to show how pleasing it is to God that man, though many, should be one. Prabhupada. Our Vedic conception is similar. We say that mankind has come from Manu. From Manu, we get the Sanskrit word Manusaha, which means coming from Manu, or human being. Manu himself comes from Brahma, who is the first living being. Thus, living beings come from other living beings, not from matter. Brahma, in his turn, comes from the Supreme Lord as a Rajoguna avatar. Indeed, Brahma is the incarnation of Rajoguna, the mode of passion. All living beings ultimately come from the Supreme Living Being. Hagrid does. Like Origen, Augustine considered the soul to be created at a particular time, but unlike Origen, he rejected reincarnation. Let these Platonists stop threatening us with reincarnation as punishment for our souls. Reincarnation is ridiculous. There is no such thing as a return to this life for the punishment of souls. If all creation, even as mortals, is due to God, how can the return to bodies, which are gifts of God, be punishment? Prabhupada. Does he think that the assumption of the body of a hog or similar lower creature is not punishment? Why does one person get the body of King Indra or Lord Brahma, another the body of a pig or insect? How does he explain the body of a pig? If the body is a gift from God, it can also be punishment from God. When one is rewarded, he gets the body of a Brahma or a King Indra, and when he is punished, he gets the body of a pig. Hagrid does. What about the body of a man? Is that a gift or punishment? Prabhupada. There are many men who are well situated, and others who are suffering. Suffering and enjoyment take place according to the body, as explained in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparsastu konteya sitoshna sukha dukkada aga agama payino nityas tam stitikshavash bharata tam stitikshashva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharata. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Bhagavad Gita 2.14. An old man may perceive cold very acutely, whereas a young child may not perceive it. Perception is relative to the body. An animal may go naked and not feel the cold, whereas a man cannot. Thus the body is a source of suffering and enjoyment, or we may consider this punishment and reward. Hagrid does. For Augustine, the soul of each individual man is not necessarily condemned to earth due to his own desire or sin, but due to the original sin of Adam, the first man. He writes, when the first couple, Adam and Eve, were punished by the judgment of God, the whole human race was present in the first man. And what was born was not human nature as it was originally created, but as it became after the first parent's sin and punishment, as far at least as concerns the origin of sin and death. In this sense, the individual partakers of the karma of the entire race. Prabhupada, if this is the case, why does he call the body a gift? Why does he say that it is not punishment? The original man was punished, as well as the man after him, and so on. Sometimes father's disease is inherited by the son. Is this not a form of punishment? Hagrid does. Then the human form is a punishment in itself, he's asking. Prabhupada, yes. At the same time, you can consider human life a gift because it is given by God. We should think that if God has given us this body for our punishment, it is His mercy. Because by undergoing punishment, we may become purified and progress toward God. Devotees think in this way. Although the body is a form of punishment, we consider it a reward because by undergoing the punishment, we are progressing toward God realization. Even when the body is given by God for our correction, it can thus be considered a gift. I agree. For Augustine, the physical body precedes the spiritual. What is sown a natural body arises a spiritual body. If there is natural body, there is also a spiritual body. But it is not the spiritual that comes first, but the physical. So he understood everything wrong. The
Yes,
first
Prabhu.
man was of the earth, earthly. The second man is from heaven, heavenly. But the body which of the living giving spirit will become spiritual and immortal will under no condition be able to die. It will be immortal just as the created soul is immortal. Prabhupada, why does he speak of immortality in connection with man only? Every living entity has an immortal body. As we have said, entering the mortal body is a kind of punishment. The individual undergoes an evolutionary process from lower to higher species. Every soul is part and parcel of God, but due to some sinful activity, the living entity comes into this material world. In the Bible, it is said that due to disobedience to God, Adam and Eve lost paradise and had come into this material world. The soul belongs to the paradise in heaven, the planets of Krishna, but somehow or other, he has fallen into this material world and has taken on a body. According to our activities, we are elevated or degraded as a demigod, human being, animal, tree, or plant. In any case, the soul is always aloof from the material body. This is confirmed by Vedic literatures. Our actual spiritual life begins when we are freed from material contamination or transmigration. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Standard Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Who wants to continue from this part?
Yes, Prabhu. You can, if
Yes, Prabhu.
devotee, if
Haribo.
anyone wants to read it, it's okay. But if not, I can read.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
can. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, you can read.
Thank you. I agree with us. Concerning peace, Augustine writes, peace between a mortal man and his maker consists in order obedience, guided by faith under God's eternal law. Peace between man and man consists in related fellowship. The peace of the heavenly city lies in a perfectly ordered and harmonious communion of those who find their joy in God and in one another in God. Peace in its final sense is the calm that comes of order. Srila Prabhupada. Peace means coming in contact with Supreme Personality of Godhead. A man in ignorance thinks that he is the enjoyer of this world, but when he contacts when he contacts the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, he understands that God is the enjoyer. We are servants meant to supply enjoyment to God. A servant supplies the needs of his master. Actually, the master has no needs, but he enjoys the company of his servants, who his turn enjoy his company. A public servant is very happy when he receives a good government job, and a master is happy to acquire a very faithful servant. This is the relationship between the individual soul and God. And when the relationship is destroyed, it is said that the individual soul exists in Maya. When the relationship is restored, the individual soul is situated in his spiritual consciousness, which we call Krishna consciousness, by which he understands that the Supreme God is the actual enjoyer and proprietor as well as the Supreme Being. When we understand God's transcendental qualities, we become happy and attain peace. I agree with us. Augustine felt that neither activity nor meditation should be exclusive, but should one another complement one another. No man must be so committed to contemplation has in his contemplation to give no thought to his neighbor's needs, not so absorbed in action has to dispense with the contemplation of God. Srila Prabhupada, unless you think of God, how can you be active in the service of God or the service of God? Real meditation is meditation on the supreme personality of Godhead or the super soul within the core of the heart. Activity and meditation should go together. However, if we sit down and think of God, it is commendable but commendable. But if we work for God as God desires, our position is superior. If you love me and simply sit and think of me, that is commendable. That may be considered meditation. However, if you love me, it is better that you carry out my orders. That is more important. I agree with us. Augustine conceived of a spiritual world in which the moments of the spiritual bodies will be of such unimaginable beauty that I dare not say more than this. There, there will be there will be such pious, mm, such grace, such beauty has become a place where nothing unbecoming can be found. Whenever the spirit dwells, there in a flash, your body will be good. Will God will be the source of every satisfaction. He will be the consummation of all our desiring. The object of our unending vision, of our unlistening love, of our unwearying Paris. The soul he bless will still possess freedom of will, though sin will have no power to attempt them. Srila Prabhupada, yes, sin cannot touch one who remains in contact with God. According to our desires, we associate with the modes of material nature and acquire different types of bodies. Nature, the agent of Krishna, affords us facilities by giving us a body, which is like a machine. When a son insists, Father, give me a cycle, the affectionate father complies. This is a typical relationship with a father and his son, as explained in Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Ardese Arjuna Tissate Tissati Brahmanya Sarva Bhutani Yantradrudani Mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. O Arjuna, and he's directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as has on a machine made of made of the material energy. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. The Supreme Father Krishna is within the core of everyone's heart. As the living entity desires, the Father supplies a body manufactured by material nature. This body is destined to suffer, but the spiritual bodies in the Vaikunthas are not subject to birth, old age, disease, or death, not the threefold miseries. They are eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. I agree with us. For Augustine, the mind, reason, and the soul are one and the same. Srila Prabhupada. No, these are different ident- identities. The mind acts according to the intelligence, but the intelligence of different living entities differs. Similarly, minds also differ. Dog's intelligence is not equal to that of a human being. But this is not to say that the dogs does not have a soul. The soul is placed in different bodies that have different types of intelligence and different ways of thinking, acting, feeling, and willing. So the mind and intelligence differ according to the body, but the soul remains the same. I agree with us. Identifying the soul, by identifying the soul with mind and reason, Augustine could justify killing animals. He writes, indeed, some people try to the stretch the prohibition, so shall not kill, to cover beasts and cattle and make it unlawful to kill any such animal. But then why not include plants and anything rooted in and feeding on the soil? Putting this nonsense aside, we do not apply "thou shalt not kill" to plants because they have no sensation, nor to ir- ir- irrelation. Animals that fly, swim, walk, or creep because they are linked to us by no association or common bond. By and the creators the by creators voice order or sorry ordinance ordinance okay, they are meant for our use, dead or alive. It only remains for us to apply the condemnment. Thou shalt not kill, the to man alone, oneself and others. Srila Prabhupada. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Without qualification, our Vedic philosophy admits that one living entity serves as food for another living entity. That is natural, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Though those animals who have hands eat animals without hands, the four-legged animals eat animals that cannot move, as well as plants and vegetables. Though the weak is food for the strong. This is a natural law. Our Krishna consciousness philosophy, however, is not based on the view that plant life is less sensitive than animal life, or animal life is less sensitive than human life. We consider all human beings, animals, plants, and trees to be living entities, spirit, soul. We may eat an animal or a vegetable. Whatever the case, we must inevitably eat some living entity. It therefore becomes a question of selection. Apart from vegetarian, maybe vegetarian. Yes, bro. Apart from a vegetarian or non-vegetarian deities, dates, we are basically concerned with Krishna's prasadam. We take only the remnants of uh, whatever Krishna eats. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati." तदहं भक्त्या उपाहर्तम् अस्नामि प्रयत्तमा Prayatatmana. Prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9.26. This is our philosophy. We are concerned with taking the remnants of Krishna's food, which will call prasadam, mercy. We should not touch the meat or anything else not affordable, offerable to Krishna. Uh, yajna, sorry, yajna, stis, sistisena, sistasena santo muchyate sarva kilbeshai bhujante te tve agham papa ye ये पाच्यन्ते आत्मकर्णथा The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Now, others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment rarely eat only sin. Srimad Bhagavad Gita 3.13.
Ribo. Thank you so much,
Thank
Prabhu.
you so much. Brother.
Ribo. Now we can go six Astakam prayers. Tomorrow we no, not tomorrow, but in Monday we read about this Thomas
Okay,
Aquinas.
bro.
Yeah, so this person is this Augustine is the person who came to ruin the church. He changed
Mm,
the Jesus Christ philosophy completely. He said soul is not eternal. He said animals are stupid, we can kill them. Yeah,
mm.
all these things he came up with.
So, one things they are still related, but one things they will there.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, he said the soul that was created and it it only becomes immortal or eternal after it is created. So he says like this, but that makes no sense. Yeah, and he also said that there is no reincarnation, that in this life it's decided if one goes to hell, he goes forever there, or one goes heaven, he goes forever there. He changed like this.
Yes, Prabhu.
चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावादुजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारी बहुधा निजसर्वशक्तिर्तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालाय एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशं हैजिनेनानुग्रहा
त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना मानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भगवद्भक्तिर्हेतुकी त्वयि
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां विषमे भवाम्बुधो कृपा तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया
नयनं गददाशूर गदारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निचिन्तं वपु कदा तव नामाग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्यैतं शून्यैतं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्यवापदा पिनष्टुं मां कथं पिनष्टु माम् अदृशनान् सर्वं अदृशनं मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विददातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनत्सत्तु एव न प्रहा
Haribol, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and those you have hundreds and millions of names, like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire you beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your constant devotion service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the cessation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Reboot.
Haribol, Sri Sixastam Ki Jai.
Jai.
The 10 offenses to the holy name. First offense, to blaspheme the devotees who had dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be an equal or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
Fourth, to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in the pursuance to the Vedic version.
Fifth offense, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Sixth offense, to give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
Eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as spiritual activities. Karma Kanda.
Ninth offense, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
Tenth offense, to not have complete faith in the chanting of holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against this offense in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema.
Oh,
Haribo.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपासिन्धुभ्यः
कृपासिन्धुभ्यो
भक्तानां
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Haribol, Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhus, for associating me with and reading this amazing reading session. Haribol.
Thank you so much.
I just saw Bhakta Jat join the new Bhakta joined this call. He showed this video and then he left. He was just
Oh,
talking back with him.
Haribo.
First time I saw him, so that was nice.
Oh, Haribo. I was reading, I think.
Yes, Prabhu. I think he will join Istagosti tomorrow, so that will be interesting.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, bro.
Haribol.
Bro, yes, bro. Are you prepared for